I'm going to share something with all of you. I've never gotten a single A in any of my examinations or my subjects or my modules for the past 10 years. Now you might be wondering, who is this Asian kid here? Trying to share with all of you that, oh, I've never gotten a single A in my life. That's impossible. He's an Asian kid. Trust me, I'm one of those Asian kids that wish I've gotten an A, at least for any of my subjects. But my parents will tell you that, yeah, I have not gotten an A, and it's been a real disappointment to not just them, but for myself. So I'm going to share with all of you a little story, and hopefully some of you can relate to this. I hope some of you will relate to this. 16 years ago, when I first started primary school, at the age of 7, I was a very weak, I was a very timid kid, and I think one of the only redeeming factors that I had was that I was quite a hardworking child back then. I wasn't smart by any stretch of the word, but I was someone who was considered quite hardworking. And I did do well for the first half of my primary school days. But once I reached the second half of it, my results started to go downhill. There was a huge jump in terms of the knowledge and the things that you have to study, and I just wasn't cut out for a lot of it. At least that's what I thought to myself. When I reached the age of 11, one of my teachers, my science teacher, actually told me this: your brain is like outer space. Your answers to all of my questions are not from this world. And I didn't know how to feel about it, but looking back, damn, I knew he was making a joke about it, but as a kid, you took things literally. And I thought to myself, man, what an ass this person is. Telling me that my answers were out of this world. But when I went back home and I shared the things that I've told this teacher, or like shared with my in front of my friends in class, my parents told me the same thing. Yeah, your answers are completely out of this world. And that was my downfall. That was the start of my downfall for my academics. I realized that I was doing very poorly for all of my subjects, especially when it came to mathematics and science. I was scoring C's, or sometimes I would be borderline failing. So out of 100 marks, I'll be getting like marks that were like in the 50s. And as an Asian kid, you're expected to do well in math and science, but I was the complete opposite. I was doing much better at my language for some reason. Uh, and that was when I truly needed help. My parents got tuition for me, and I still did poorly even after tuition classes. It didn't help with the fact that I also had piano lessons to take. I had examinations for piano as well, both practical and theory, and gosh, it was such a mountain of obstacles to climb. I had to juggle so many things, and once I reached my final year of primary school, my parents decided to tell me to drop my piano classes and focus on my academics, because that was the year where I had to take a very important exam so that I could choose to go into a good secondary school. By the grace of God, by some miracle, I somehow managed to do decently enough to get into a local neighborhood school. Now, granted, my parents, and I myself included, wanted to go into a more elite secondary school, one of the more reputable ones, but my results just wasn't good enough, and I didn't make the cut for any of it. So I went to secondary school, and I thought to myself, I might be able to do better because there's more subjects, and there are things that, like the humanities and the arts, that I might be a little bit better in. And oh boy, was I wrong. I went into secondary school, and in my first semester, I completely messed it up. I think I failed like half of my subjects, and I was flagged out by my teachers because I was so bad at my academics. Even my classmates back then were saying that, man, like, you did really badly. Like, how could you score so badly for your examinations? To this day, I don't know. I guess I just wasn't academically very smart. I feel I'm a bit more street smart, but I'm not really sure. And that was when I started to really started to descend into quite a low point in my life. Uh, Secondary school was 4 years. Once I hit the 3.5 year mark, my results during the 3.5 years were basically borderline pass and at most a C. I was going to take my O levels, which, for those of you who don't know, that's the examinations that you have to take after secondary school here in Singapore, and from there you'll be able to choose the school that you want to go to. So we had the IT, the Institute of Technical Education. We had your Polytechnics, which is where you go to take your diploma. Think of it as like a mini university. And then you had your junior colleges, which is where you go to study to take a A-level certificate. And I wanted to go to Poly because it was like an in-between. And by some miracle, I made it, right? I completely dropped all of my uh, playtimes, my activities, the things that I love to do. I used to play League of Legends and I completely dropped it. I used to play Hearthstone back then. It was a thing. I don't think it's a thing right now. I dropped it as well. I had to cancel my piano classes as well. And at the same time, I had to double up my tuition. My parents complained back then, not complained, but they ranted to me about how like my tuition fees was literally double every month because of the frequency that I had to take. And for my O levels, out of the 7 subjects that I took, I passed 5 and I failed 2. Honestly, I was just pretty glad that I passed 5 of it and I was able to make it into a local polytechnic by some miraculous like miracle essentially. I went to Polytechnic thinking to myself, okay, there's a lot more, there's a lot more group projects, there's a lot more assignments, and I was wrong. There were still examinations as well. It wasn't the most high percentage, not high percentage, the most heaviest weightage thing. But man, it really screwed up everything for me. I did well for most of my projects, be it group or solo, but examinations really screwed me over. Right, it was at least 30 to 40% of my overall grades, and I believe that I didn't do well enough for the examinations because I look at the overall grades that I had for my modules and it was horrifying to look at. Needless to say, at the end of my 3 years in Polytechnic, I wasn't able to qualify for any local universities. I got rejected by 2 local universities. My GPA out of 4 was below 3, and the minimum requirement to get into a local university here, I think it's about 3.2, if I'm not mistaken, and I didn't make it. So after Polytechnic, I had 2 years to think about what I wanted to do because here in Singapore, all men after the age of 18, or Singaporean men, have to go through national service. That means you have to go through the army. And I went through the army, and during that point of time, I met a lot of people who were very smart, and some of them were like getting to really good schools. I met someone who went into one of the Ivy League schools. That went to one of the Ivy League schools, and I told myself, wow, okay, like these people are just geniuses. They are way ahead of me. But at the end of the 2 years, I still had no idea what I wanted to do, even though I talked to many of them. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go and work and see how, maybe I might find something that I was interested in. So during the 2 years of national service, I applied for one of the local universities. I'm not going to mention which one. I failed. I got rejected. I didn't even get past the initial stage of going through the interview. The second university that I applied for also rejected me. When I was working, I told myself, you know what, at this point of time, I think I've saved enough cash. I'm just going to go for a private university. They'll most likely accept me. And that was true. They did accept me into, I got accepted into a private university. And starting school, this year, I still feel like shit. I still feel like I'm behind everybody, that I'm not good enough. Uh, I'm way behind in terms of my academics abilities compared to all my peers. I met really good friends, really good seniors. I've known some people in the current school that I'm studying in, and they're really nice. They're very helpful. But I, as a person, am just not good at my studies. And just a few days ago, my friends in school, they tested me some things that I was supposed to study for an upcoming test, and I couldn't answer half of their questions. Half, not even half of their questions. I couldn't answer almost everything that they were testing me. It was honestly horrifying to them to hear, and it was shocking to me because I thought I studied a lot, right? I came into university with the mindset that I got to study a lot every day, and I did. I really put in out the hours to study every day. But I don't know whether my study methods were correct or not, but I just couldn't answer any of the questions that they were testing me. I had a mock exam as well, a few days ago, and I failed. And it really demoralized me, if I were going to be really honest. I feel like I put in a lot of effort, but the effort just doesn't produce results. But I always ask myself, is it my fault? Or is it, that the exams are just tough? That school is just tough. I still can't figure out which one is the bigger problem here. Is it me or the school? Anyways, filming this video currently, it is 2 a.m. and I have a test to study for that is coming in 2 days. Not even one test. No, not even a test. I have 2 tests to study for. I've studied just now, so that's why I'm able to film this video. But man, I'm terrified. I'm honestly worried that I wouldn't even be able to pass for the test, right? Apparently, to some of the modules that I have to pass, the minimum requirement to pass some of my modules are 65 marks, and one of the upcoming modules that I'm having a test for, you need a minimum of 77 points in order to not remod, aka to retake the module. I've never gotten an A in my entire life, and in Singapore's context, an A is usually a 75 and above, let alone a 77. I don't know whether I'll be able to do well. I think I'm pretty screwed, but at the same time, I think I put in enough effort. I don't know how to feel about it. But I told myself this one thing. I put in my best effort. I've consulted my lecturers, I've talked to them, and I've gotten help, for myself. And I feel like, at the end of the day, if I don't do well, touch wood, if I don't pass and I fail, it's okay. I've did my best. I've done my best. My friends have been very helpful to me, and I feel like, yes, it will suck if I don't do well for my examinations, if I don't do well for my tests, if I don't do well for my assignments. But your results shouldn't define you. It's something I keep telling myself every single day. It shouldn't be this defining factor for a certain person, right? You shouldn't let that certificate, define who you are, right? I don't believe that education, especially at this higher level, should be something that should define you, that you should put a label around yourself, right? It's like having a lanyard around you, with like I finished university, right, stated on it, and walking around. People are not going to care about that at the end of the day. Maybe your employers, right? But at the end of the day, what are they going to look at? They're going to look at you as a person. They're going to look at your character. They're not going to look at your results. Maybe it's easy for us to say that, it's very important. But, through my 1 year of work experience, although very little, I realized that, as much as school teaches you things, some things are just better off being learned from actually having work experience. 3 years of university seems like a long time, but my 2 years of national service just flew by like that. 2 years will fly very quickly. Right? Before you know it, 1 semester is over, 2 semesters over, and before you know it, you're going to graduate. I guess just enjoy where you are right now in your life, in whether you're in education or not. Just enjoy the process, right? And don't think too much about the result. Don't beat yourself up too much. If you stayed to the end of this video, I'm just really surprised. I'm glad that you've watched this random person on YouTube talking to you about things. Thanks for staying, and hopefully my story can be relatable to some of you. And you're a great person. Don't beat yourself up too much, right? Just put in your best effort for the things you're doing in life. Be in school or at work or at home, right? And remember, stay strong and carry on. And till then, peace out.